Dr. Sarah, I saw a very interesting question from your social media, so I'm just going to read it to you.
Okay.
This person writes, I'm a 52-year-old pre-diabetic cyclist.
Hmm.
Cyclists live on carbs and sugar. I'm trying to reduce the carbs off the bike and find lower sugar fuel for on the bike, as well as finding more fuel to fuel my rides.
Mhm.
Would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I ran marathons when I was in grad school, so I assume it's very similar, like little packets of like pure glucose, like basically like frosting in a packet, to help fuel those training runs. So one thing for the actual like training, so what's interesting about exercise and like the insulin glucose system is exercise helps to bring the glucose transporter, the GLUT4 transporter that is normally the sugar transporter that brings glucose into the cells that is triggered by insulin. So normally you eat sugar, your blood sugar levels go up, your pancreas goes, sugar, it secretes insulin. And then your insulin binds with insulin receptors in your cells. And then that causes a bunch of stuff to happen inside that brings this GLUT4 transporter into the cell membrane. And then that transporter brings glucose into the cell. So that is like the cascade of events that are happening. So when you're developing insulin resistance, that's a couple of different things that can be happening, right? Your pancreas might not be making as much insulin, but more normally, what happens is either there's fewer receptors to insulin in the cell. So when insulin it comes, there's like fewer places for it to bind to bring that transporter into the cell membrane, or the like stuff that happens inside the cell that ultimately brings that transporter into the cell membrane doesn't happen as effectively. So what's cool is when you're exercising is that brings the GLUT4 transporters into the cell membrane independent of insulin. So you've got this great window of time to be consuming those simple carbohydrates and getting that into your muscle cells without needing the insulin. So reducing how much sugar you're consuming, but finding that like sweet spot of it's enough sugar to be able to fuel muscle performance and muscle recovery, but it's not so much that it's elevating my blood sugar levels. Like that is going to be just kind of a playing around. And if you're pre-diabetic, you probably have a glucometer. So like doing a little bit of testing and like finding out what that line is. And then otherwise, just focusing on whole food carbohydrates, right? So for like the rest of the day, your whole food carbohydrates, so your legumes, your whole grains, your root vegetables, your fruit, all of those that have fiber packaged in it, consuming that as part of a meal, so you're getting your protein and your healthy fats, that's going to help to blunt that blood sugar response and help normalize it. And then the other thing that you really need to know here is vitamin D. Go get your levels tested because just having low vitamin D can dramatically increase the risk of insulin resistance. And just getting vitamin D levels up into the normal range has been shown to improve blood sugar regulation in diabetics. There's some other nutrients that are really important here. So like chromium is another one that's really important for that insulin signaling. There's a full list of nutrients that are related to insulin sensitivity and diabetes in my book Nutrivore. And if you're not a fan of if you're not a part of my Patreon yet, come join my Patreon because the exclusive ebook for the Nutrivore Super Nerds and Pros tiers in November is all of the nutrients related to diabetes risk. So looking at all of the nutrients that are important in the insulin glucose system. So it's all of the nutrients and exactly how is all in that ebook. So that'd be a great resource for you. But then the other thing to know here is getting enough sleep, making sure that you're getting enough recovery after your workouts is really important for insulin sensitivity. You can also work on like adding more low strain activity, like taking those recovery days where you're going for a walk instead of doing an intense training can be super helpful. And reducing stress is another like really key target for improving insulin sensitivity. So there's lots of tweaks that with diet that can help, but lifestyle is also really important.